Bhagavadgita, Krishna's Counsel in Time of War, with an introduction and afterword by Barbara Stoller Miller. Bantam Books, New York, Toronto, London, Sydney, Auckland. The first teaching, Arjuna's dejection. Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya, tell me what my sons and the sons of Pandu did when they met, wanting to battle on the field of Kuru, on the field of sacred duty. Sanja, your king, Duryodhana the king, seeing the Pandava forces arrayed, approached his teacher Drona and spoke in command. My teacher, see the great Pandava army arranged by Drupada's son, your pupil, intent on revenge? Here are heroes, mighty archers equal to Bhima and Arjuna in warfare, Duryodhana, Virata, and Drupada, your sworn foe on his great chariot. Here too are Drishtaketu, Sikitana, and the brave king of Benares, Purujit, Kunti Hoja, and the manly king of the Shibis. Yudhamanyu is bold, and Uttamajuras is brave. The sons of Hubhadra and Draupadi all command great chariots. Now, honored priest, mark the superb men on our side as I tell you the names of my army's leaders. They are you and Bhishma, Karna, and Kripa, a victor in battles, and your own son, Ashvathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta. Many other heroes also risked their lives for my sake, bearing varied weapons and skilled in the ways of war. Guarded by Bhishma, the strength of our army is without limit, but the strength of their army, guarded by Bhima, is limited. In all the movements of battle, you and your men, stationed according to plan, must guard Bhishma well. Bhishma, fiery elder of the Kurus, roared his lion's roar and blew his conch horn, exciting Duryodhana's delight. Conches and kettle drums, cymbals, tabors, and trumpets were sounded at once, and the din of tumult arose. Standing on their great chariot, yoked with white stallions, Krishna and Arjuna, Pandu's son, sounded their divine conches. Krishna blew Pankanjanya, one from a demon. Arjuna blew Devata, a gift of the gods. Fierce wolf-bellied Bhima blew Parundra, his great conch of the east. Yudhishthira, Kunti's son the king, blew Anantavijaya, conch of the boundless victory. His twin brothers Nakula and Sahadeva blew conches resident and jewel-toned. The king of Benares, a superb archer, and Shikandin on his great chariot, Drishtadhyumna, Virata, and indomitable Satyaki all blew their conches. Drupada, with his 5 grandsons, and Subhadra's strong-armed son, each in turn blew their conches, O king. The noise tore the hearts of Dhritarashtra's sons, and tumult echoed throughout heaven and earth. Arjuna, his war flag, a rampant monkey, saw Dhritarashtra's sons assembled as weapons ready to clash, and he lifted his bow. He told his charioteer, Krishna, halt my chariot between the armies. For far enough for me to see, these men who lust for more are ready to fight with me in the strain of battle. I see men gathered here eager to fight, bent on serving the folly of Dhritarashtra's son. When Arjuna had spoken, Krishna halted their splendid chariot between the armies. Facing Bhishma and Drona and all their great kings, he said, Arjuna, see the Kuru men assembled here. Arjuna saw them standing there, fathers, grandfathers, teachers, uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, and friends. He surveyed his elders and companions in both armies, and all his kinsmen assembled together. Dejected, filled with strange pity, he said this, Krishna, I see my kinsmen gathered here wanting war. My limbs sink, my mouth is parched, my body trembles, the hair bristles on my flesh. The magic bow slips from my hands. My skin burns, I cannot stand still, and my mind's reeled. I see omens of chaos, Krishna. I see no good in killing my kinsmen in battle. Krishna, I seek no victory, or kinship, or pleasures. What use are us to kingship, delights of life itself? We sought kingship, delights, and pleasures for the sake of those assembled to abandon their lives and fortunes in battles. They are teachers, fathers, sons, and grandfathers, uncles and grandsons, fathers and brothers of wives, and other men of our family. I don't want to kill them, even if I am killed, Krishna, not for kinship of all three worlds, much less for the earth. What joy is there for us, Krishna, in killing Dhritarashtra's sons? Evil will haunt us if we kill them, though our bows are drawn to kill. Honor forbids us to kill our cousins, Dhritarashtra's sons. How can we know happiness if we kill our own kinsmen? The greed that distorts their reason blinds them with sin to make the ruining of the family, blinds them to the crime of betraying friends. How can we ignore the wisdom of turning from this evil when we see the sin of family destruction, Krishna? When the family is ruined, the timeless laws of family duty perish. And when duty is lost, chaos overwhelms the family. In overwhelming chaos, Krishna, women of the family are corrupted. And when women are corrupted, disorder is born in society. This discord drags the violators and the family itself to hell, for ancestors fall when rites of offering rice and water lapse. The sins of men who violate the family create disorder in society that undermines the constant laws of caste and family duty. Krishna, we have heard that a place in hell is reserved for men who undermine family duties. I lament the great sin we commit when our greed for kingship and pleasures drives us to kill our kinsmen. If Dhritarashtra's armed sons kill me in battle when I am unarmed and offer no resistance, it will be my reward. Saying this in time of war, Arjuna slumped in his chariot, laid down his bow and arrows, his mind tormented by grief. The second teaching, philosophy and spiritual discipline. Sanjaya. Arjuna sat dejected, filled with pity, his sad eyes blurred with tears. Krishna gave him counsel. Lord Krishna, why this cowardice in times of crisis, Arjuna? The coward is ignoble, shameful, foreign in the ways of heaven. Don't yield to impotence. It is unnatural in you. Banish this petty weakness from your heart. Rise to the fight, Arjuna. Arjuna, Krishna, how can I fight against Bhishma and Drona with arrows when they deserve my worship? It is better in this world to beg for scraps of food than to eat meals speared with the blood of elders I killed at the height of their power while their goals were still desires. We don't know which weight is worse to bear, our conquering them or their conquering us. We will not want to live if we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra assembled before us. The flaw of pity blights my very being. Conflicting sacred duties confounding my reason. I ask you to tell me decisively which is better. I am your pupil, teach me what I seek. I see nothing to drive away the grief that withers my senses. Even if I won kingdoms of unrivaled wealth on earth and sovereignty over gods. Sanjaya. Arjuna told this to Krishna, then saying, I shall not fight. He fell silent. Mocking him gently, Krishna gave him this counsel, as Arjuna sat dejected between the two armies. Lord Krishna, you grieve for those beyond grief, and you speak words of insight, but learned men do not grieve for the dead or the living. Never have I not existed, nor you, nor these kings, and never in the future shall we cease to exist. Just as the embodied self enters childhood, youth, old age, so does it enter another body. This does not confound a steadfast man. Contacts with matter make us feel heat and cold, pleasure and pain. For Arjuna, you must learn to endure fleeting things. They come and go. When these things cannot torment a man, when suffering and joy are equal for him and he has courage, he is fit for immortality. Nothing of non-being comes to be, nor does being cease to exist. The boundary between these two is seen by men who see reality. Indestructible is the presence that pervades all this. No one can destroy this unchanging reality. Our bodies are known to end, but the embodied self is enduring, indestructible, and immeasurable. Therefore, Arjuna, fight the battle. He who thinks this self a killer, and he who thinks it killed, both fail to understand. It does not kill, nor is it killed. It is not born, it does not die. Having been, it will never not be. Unborn, enduring, constant, and primordial, it is not killed when the body is killed. Arjuna, when a man knows the self to be indestructible, enduring, unborn, unchanging, how does he kill or cause anyone to kill? As a man discards worn-out clothes to put on new ones and different ones, so the embodied self discards its worn-out bodies to take on other ones. Weapons do not cut it, fire does not burn it, waters do not wet it, wind does not wither it. It cannot be cut or burned. It cannot be wet or withered. It is enduring, all-pervasive, fixed, immovable, and timeless. It is called unmanifest, inconceivable, and immutable. Since you know that it be so, you should not grieve. If you think of its birth and death as ever recurring, then, too, great warrior, you have no cause to grieve. Death is certain for anyone born, and birth is certain for the dead. Since the cycle is inevitable, you have no cause to grieve. Creatures are unmanifest in origin, manifest in the midst of life, and unmanifest again in the end. Since this is so, why do you lament? Rarely someone sees it, rarely a number speaks it, rarely anyone hears it. Even hearing it, no one really knows it. The self embodied in the body of every being is indestructible. You have no cause to grieve for all these creatures, Arjuna. Look to your own duty. Do not tremble before it. Nothing is better for a warrior than the sacred battle like this thrust on them by chance. If you fail to wage this war of sacred duty, you will abandon your own duty and fame only to gain evil. People will tell you of your undying shame, and for a man of honor, shame is worse than death. The great chariot warriors will think you deserted in fear of battle. You will be despised by those who held you in esteem. Your enemies will slander you, scorning your skill in so many unspeakable ways. Could any suffering be worse? If you are killed, you win heaven. If you triumph, you enjoy the earth. Therefore, Arjuna, stand up and resolve to fight the battle. Impartial to joy and suffering, gain and loss, victory and defeat, arm yourself for the battle, lest you fall into evil. Understanding is defined in terms of philosophy. Now here it's spiritual discipline. Armed with this understanding, Arjuna, you will escape the bondage of action. No effort in this world is lost or wasted. A fragment of sacred duty saves you from great fear. This understanding is unique in its inner core of resolve. Diffuse and pointless are the ways, as irresolute men understand. Undiscerning men who delight in the tenets of ritual lore utter florid speech proclaiming there is nothing else. Driven by desire, they strive after heaven and contrive to win the powers and delights, but their intricate ritual language bears only the fruit of action and rebirth. Obsessed with powers and delights, their reason lost in words, they do not find in contemplation this understanding of inner resolve. Arjuna, the realm of sacred lore is nature, beyond its triads of qualities, dualities, and mundane rewards. Be forever lucid, alive to yourself. For the discerning priest, all of sacred lore has no more value than a well when water flows everywhere. Be intent on action, not on the fruits of action. Avoid attraction to the fruits and attachment to inaction. Perform actions firm in discipline, relinquishing attachment. Be impartial to failure and success. The equanimity is called discipline. Arjuna, action is far inferior to the discipline of understanding. So seek refuge in understanding. Pitiful are men drawn by fruits of action. Discipline by understanding, one abandons both good and evil deeds. So arm yourself for discipline. Discipline is skill in actions. Wise men disciplined by understanding relinquish the fruit born of action. Freed from these bonds of rebirth, they reach a place beyond decay. When your understanding passes beyond the swamp of delusion, you will be indifferent to all that is heard in sacred lore. When your understanding turns from sacred lore to stand fixed, immovable in contemplation, then you will reach discipline. Arjuna, Krishna, what defies a man deep in contemplation, whose insight and thought are sure? How would he speak? How would he sit? How would he move? Lord Krishna, when he gives up desires in his mind, is content with the self within himself, when he is said to be a man whose insight is sure, Arjuna. when suffering does not disturb his mind, when his craving for pleasures has vanished, when attraction, fear, and anger are gone, he is called a sage whose thought is sure. When he shows no preference in fortune or misfortune, and neither exalts nor hates, his insight is sure. When, like a tortoise retracting its limbs, he withdraws his senses completely from sensuous objects, his insight is sure. Sensuous objects fade when the embodied self abstains from food. The taste lingers, but so too fades in the inner vision of truth. When a man of wisdom tries to control them, Arjuna, the bewildering senses attack his mind with violence. Controlling them all with the discipline, he should focus on me. When his senses are under control, his insight is sure. Brooding about sensuous objects makes the attachment to them grow. From attachment, desire arises. From desire, anger is born. From anger comes confusion. From confusion, memory lapses. From broken memory, understanding is lost. The loss of understanding, he is ruined. But a man of inner strength, whose senses experience objects without attraction, and hatred and self-control, finds serenity. In serenity, all his sorrows dissolve. His reason becomes serene, his understanding sure. Without discipline, he has no understanding or inner power. Without inner power, he has no peace. And without peace, where is joy? If his mind submits to the play of the senses, they drive away insight, as wind drives a ship on the water. So, great warrior, when withdrawal of the senses from sense objects is complete, discernment is firm. When it is night for all creatures, a master of restraint is awake. When they are awake, it is night for the sage who sees reality. As the mountainous depths of the ocean are unmoved when waters rush into it, so the man unmoved when desires enter him attains a peace that eludes the man of many desires. Then he renounces all desires and acts without craving, possessiveness, or individuality. He finds peace. This is the place of the infinite spirit. Achieving it, one is freed from delusion. Abiding in it even at the time of death, one finds the pure calm of infinity. The third teaching, discipline of action. Arjuna, if you think understanding is more powerful than action, why, Krishna, do you urge me this horrific act? You confuse my understanding with a maze of words. Speak one truth so that I may achieve what is good. Lord Krishna, earlier I taught the twofold basis of good in this world. For philosophers, discipline, knowledge. For men of discipline, action. A man cannot escape the force of action by abstaining from actions. He does not attain success just by renunciation. No one exists even for an instant without performing action. However unwilling, every being is forced to act by the qualities of nature. When his senses are controlled, but he keeps recalling the senses in his mind, he is a self-deluded hypocrite. When he controls the senses with his mind and engages in the discipline of action with his faculties of action, detachment sets him apart. Perform necessary action. It is more powerful than inaction. Without action, you will even fail to sustain your own body. Action imprisons the world. Unless it is done as a sacrifice, freed from attachment, Arjuna, perform action as a sacrifice. When creating living beings in sacrifice, Prajapati, the primordial creator, said, by sacrifice you will procreate. Let it be your wish-granting cow. Foster the gods with this, and may they foster you. By enriching one another, you will achieve a higher good. Enriched by sacrifice, the gods will give you the delights you desire. He is a thief who enjoys their gifts without giving them to them in return. Good men eating the remnants of sacrifice are free of any guilt, but evil men who cook for themselves eat the food of sin. Creatures depend on food. Food comes from rain. Rain depends on sacrifice, and sacrifice comes from action. Action comes from the spirit of prayer, whose source is Om, the sound of the imperishable. So the pervading infinite spirit is ever present in the rites of sacrifice. He who fails to keep turning the wheel here is set in motion. Wastes his life in sin, he is addicted to the senses, Arjuna. But when a man finds delight within himself and feels inner joy and pure contentment in himself, there is nothing more to be done. He has no stake here in deeds done or undone, nor does his purpose depend on other creatures. Always perform with detachment any action you must do. Performing action with detachment, one achieves supreme good. Janaka and other ancient kings attained perfection by action alone. Seeing the way to preserve the world, you should act. Whatever a leader does, the ordinary people also do. He sets the standard for the world to follow. In the three worlds, there is nothing I must do, nothing unattained to be attained. Yet I engage in action. What if I did not engage relentlessly in action? Men retrace my path at every turn, Arjuna. If these worlds would collapse if I did not perform action, I would create disorder in society. Living beings would be destroyed. As the ignorant act with attachment to actions, Arjuna, so wise men should act with detachment to preserve the world. No wise man disturbs the understanding of ignorant men attached to action. He should inspire them, performing all actions with discipline. Actions are all affected by the qualities of nature, but deluded by individuality. The self thinks, I am the actor. When he can discriminate the actions of nature's qualities and think, the qualities depend on other qualities, he is detached. Those deluded by the qualities of nature are attached to their actions. A man who knows this should not upset these dull men of partial knowledge. Surrender all your actions to me, and fix your reason on your inner self. Without hope or possessiveness, your fever subdued, fight the battle. Men who always follow my thought, trusting it without finding fault, are freed even by their actions. And those who find fault and fail to follow my thought know that they are lost fools, deluded by every bit of knowledge. Even a man of knowledge behaves in accord with his own nature. Creatures all conform to nature. What can one do to restrain them? Attraction and hatred are poised in the object of every sense experience. A man must not fall prey to those two brigands lurking on his path. Your own duty done imperfectly is better than another man's done well. It is better to die in one's own duty. Another man's duty is perilous. Arjuna, Krishna, what makes a person commit evil against his own will, as if compelled by force? Lord Krishna, it is desire and anger arising from nature's quality of passion. Know it here as the enemy, voracious and very evil. As fire is obscured by smoke, and a mirror by dirt, as an embryo is veiled by its caul, so is knowledge obscured by this. Knowledge is obscured by the wise man's eternal enemy, which makes form as desire as an insatiable fire, Arjuna. The senses, mind, and understanding are said to harbor desire, and this desire obscures knowledge and confounds the embodied self. Therefore, first restrain your senses, Arjuna, then kill this evil that ruins knowledge and judgment. Men say that the senses are superior to their objects. The mind is superior to the senses. Understanding is superior to the mind. Higher than understanding is the self. Knowing the self beyond understanding, sustain the self with the self. Great warrior, kill the enemy, menacing you in the form of desire. The fifth teaching, renunciation in action. Fourth teaching was removed. Arjuna, Krishna, you praise renunciation of actions and then discipline. Tell me with certainty which is the better of these two. Lord Krishna, renunciation and discipline in action both affect good beyond measure, but of the two, discipline in action surpasses renunciation of action. A man of eternal renunciation is one who neither hates nor desires. Beyond dualities, he is easily freed from bondage. Simpletons separate philosophy and discipline, but the learned do not. Applying one correctly, a man finds fruit in both. Men of discipline reach the same place that philosophers attain, when he really sees who sees philosophy and discipline to be one. Renunciation is difficult to obtain without discipline. A sage armed with discipline soon reaches the infinite spirit. Armed with discipline, he purifies and subdues the self, masters his senses, unites himself with the self of all creatures. Even when he acts, he is not defiled. Seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, walking, sleeping, breathing, the disciplined man who knows reality should think, I do nothing at all. When talking, giving, taking, opening and closing his eyes, he keeps thinking, it is the senses that engage in sense objects. A man who relinquishes attachment and dedicates action to the infinite spirit is not stained by evil, like a lotus leaf unstained by water. Relinquishing attachment, Men of discipline perform action with body, mind, understanding, and senses for the purification of the self. Relinquishing the fruit of action, the disciplined man attains perfect peace. The undisciplined man is in bondage, attached to the fruits of his desire. Renouncing all his actions with the mind, the masterful embodied self dwells at ease in its nine-gated fortress. It neither acts nor causes action. The Lord of the world does not create agency or actions, or a union of fruits with actions, but his being unfolds into existence. The Lord does not partake of anyone's evil or good conduct. Knowledge is obscured by ignorance, so people are deluded. When ignorance is destroyed by knowledge of the self, then like the sun, knowledge illuminates ultimate reality. That becomes their understanding, their self, their basis, and their goal, and they reach a state beyond return, their sin dispelled by knowledge. Learned men see with an equal eye a scholarly and dignified priest, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and even an outcast scavenger. Men who master the worldly world have equanimity. They exist in the infinite spirit, in its flawless equilibrium. He should not rejoice in what he loves, nor recoil from what disgusts him. Secure in understanding, undiluted, knowing the infinite spirit, he abides in it. Detached from eternal external contact, he discovers joy in himself. Joined by discipline to the infinite spirit, the self attains inexhaustible joy. Delights from external objects are wombs of suffering, and in their beginning is their end, and no wise man delights in them. A man able to endure the force of desire and anger before giving up his body is disciplined and joyful. The man of discipline has joy, delight, and light within. Becoming the infinite spirit, he finds pure calm of infinity. Seers who can destroy their sins, cut through doubt, master the self, and delight in the good of all creatures, attain the pure calm of infinity. Exists for the ascetic who disarms desire and anger, controls reason, and knows the self. He shuns external objects, fixes his gaze between his brows, and regulates his vital breaths as they pass through his nostrils. Truly free is the sage who controls his senses, mind, and understanding, who focuses on freedom and dispels desire, fear, and anger. Knowing me as the enjoyer of sacrifices and penances, Lord of all worlds, and friend of all creatures, he finds peace. The sixth teaching, the man of discipline. Lord Krishna, one who does what must be done without concern for the fruits, is a man of renunciation and discipline, not one who shuns ritual, fire, and rites. Know that discipline, Arjuna, is what men call renunciation. No man is disciplined without renouncing willful intent. Action is the means for a sage who seeks to mature in discipline. Tranquility is the means for one who is mature in discipline. He is said to be mature in discipline when he has renounced all intention and is detached from sense objects and actions. He should elevate himself by the self, not degrade himself. And the self is his own friend and its own worst foe. The self is the friend of man, who masters himself through the self. But for a man without self-mastery, the self is like an enemy at war. The higher self of a tranquil man, whose self is mastered, is perfectly poised in cold or heat, joy or suffering, honor or contempt. Self-contested in knowledge and judgment, his senses subdued, on the summit of existence, impartial to clay, stone, or gold, the man of discipline is disciplined. He is set apart by his disinterest towards comrades, allies, enemies, neutrals, non-partisans, foes, friends, good, and evil men. A man of discipline should always discipline himself, remain in seclusion, isolated, his thought and self well controlled, without possessions or hope. He should fix for himself a firm seat in a pure place, neither too high nor too low, covered in cloth, deerskin, or grass. He should focus his mind and restrain his activity of his thought and senses. Sitting on that seat, he should practice discipline for the purification of the self. He should keep his body, head, and neck aligned, immobile, steady. He should gaze at the tip of his nose and not let his glance wander. The self tranquil, his fear dispelled, firm in his vow of celibacy, his mind restrained, let him sit with discipline, his thought fixed on me, intent on me. Disciplining himself, his mind controlled. A man of discipline finds peace, the pure calm that exists in me. Gluttons have no discipline, nor the man who starves himself, nor he who sleeps excessively or suffers wakefulness. When a man disciplines his diet and diversions, his physical actions, and his sleeping and waking, discipline destroys his sorrow. When his controlled thought rests within the self alone, without craving objects of desire, he is said to be disciplined. He does not waver, like a lamp sheltered from the wind. It is the simile recalled for a man of discipline, restrained in thought and practicing self-discipline. When his thought ceases, checked by the exercise of discipline, he is content within the self, seeing the self through himself. Absolute joy beyond the senses can only be grasped by understanding. When one knows it, he abides there and never wanders from this reality. Obtaining it, he thinks, there is no greater gain. Abiding there, he is unmoved, even by deep suffering. Since he knows what discipline means, unbinding the bonds of suffering, he should practice discipline resolutely, without despair dispelling his reason. He should entirely relinquish desires, aroused by willful intent. He should entirely control his senses with his mind. He should gradually become tranquil, firmly controlling his understanding, focusing his mind on the self. He should think nothing. Wherever his faltering mind unsteadily wanders, he should restrain it and bring it under self-control. When his mind is tranquil, perfect joy comes to the man of discipline. His passion is calm. He is without sin, being one with the infinite spirit. Constantly disciplining himself free from sin, the man of discipline easily achieves perfect joy in harmony with the infinite spirit. Arming himself with discipline, seeing everything with an equal eye, he sees himself in all creatures and all creatures in himself. He who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me will not be lost to me, and I will not be lost to him. For I exist in all creatures. So the disciplined man devoted to me grasps the oneness of life. Wherever he is in me. When he sees identity in everything, whether joy or suffering, through analogy with the self, he is deemed a man of pure discipline. Arjuna, you define this discipline by equanimity, Krishna. But in my faltering condition, I see no ground for it. Krishna, the mind is faltering, violent, strong, and stubborn. I find it as difficult to hold as the wind. Lord Krishna, without doubt, the mind is unsteady and hard to hold, but practice and dispassion can restrain it, Arjuna. In my view, discipline eludes the unrestrained self. But if he strives to master himself, a man has the means to reach it. Arjuna, when a man has faith, but no ascetic will, when his mind deviates from discipline, before its perfection is achieved, what way is there for him, Krishna? Doomed by his double failure, is he not like the cloud split apart, unsettled, deluded on the path of the infinite spirit? Krishna, only you can dispel this doubt of mine completely. There is no one but you to dispel this doubt. Lord Krishna, Arjuna, he does not suffer doom in this world or the next. Any man who acts with honor cannot go the wrong way, my friend. Fallen in discipline, he reaches worlds made by this virtue, wherein he dwells for endless years until he is reborn in a house of upright and noble men. Or he is born in a family of disciplined men, the kind of birth in the world that is very hard to win. There he regains a depth of understanding from his former life and strives further to perfection, Arjuna. Carried by the force of his previous practice, a man who seeks to learn discipline passes beyond sacred lore that expresses the infinite spirit in words. The man of discipline, striving with effort, purified of his sins, perfected through many births, finds a higher way. He is deemed superior to men of penance, men of knowledge, and men of action. Be a man of discipline, Arjuna. Of all the men of discipline, the faithful man devoted to me, with his inner self deep in mind, I deem most disciplined. The eighth teaching, the infinite spirit. Arjuna, what is the infinite spirit, Krishna? What is the inner self in its action? What is the inner being called? What is its inner divinity? Who is within sacrifice, Krishna? How is he here in the body? And how are men of self-control to know you at the time of death? Lord Krishna, eternal and supreme is the infinite spirit. Its inner self is called the inherent being. Its creative force, known as action, is the source of creatures' existence. Its inner being is perishable existence. Its inner divinity is man's spirit. I am the inner sacrifice here in your body, O best of mortals. A man who dies remembering me at the time of death enters my being. When he is freed from his body, of this there is no doubt. Whenever he remembers, when he abandons the body at death, he enters Arjuna, always existing in that being. Therefore, at all times remember me and fight. Mind and understanding fixed upon me, free from doubt, you will come to me. Discipline through practice is reason never strained. Meditating, one reaches on the supreme divine spirit of man. One should remember that man's spirit as the guide, the primordial poet, smaller than an atom, granter of all things, in form inconceivable, the color of the sun beyond darkness. At the time of death, when the mind immovable, armed with devotion and strength of discipline, focusing vital breath between the brows, one attains supreme divine spirit of man. I shall teach you in summary about the state that scholars of sacred war call eternal. The state ascetics enter, freed from passion, which some men seek in the celibate life. Controlling the body's gates, keeping the mind in the heart, holding his own breath in his head, one is in disciplined concentration. Invoking the infinite spirit as the one eternal syllable Om, remembering me as he abandons his body, he reaches the absolute way. When he constantly remembers me, focusing his reason on me, I am easy to reach, Arjuna, for the man of enduring discipline. Reaching me, men of great spirit do not undergo rebirth. The ephemeral realm of suffering, they attain absolute perfection. Even in Brahma's cosmic realm, worlds evolve in incessant cycles, but a man who reaches me suffers no rebirth, Arjuna. When they know that a day of Brahma stretches over 1,000 eons, and his night ends in 1,000 eons, men understand day and night. At break of Brahma's day, all things emerge from an unmanifest nature. When night falls, all sink into unmanifest darkness. Arjuna, the throng of creatures that come to exist, dissolves unwillingly at nightfall to emerge again at daybreak. Beyond this unmanifest nature, there is another unmanifest existence, a timeless being that does not perish when all creatures perish. It is called the eternal, unmanifest nature, what men call the highest way, the goal from which they do not return. This highest realm is mine. It is the man's highest spirit, won by singular devotion, Arjuna, in whom creatures rest and the whole universe extends. Arjuna, I shall tell you precisely the time when men of discipline who have died suffer rebirth or escape it. Men who know the infinite spirit reach its infinity if they die in fire. Light, bright, lunar night, the sun's 6-month northward course. In smoke, night, dark, lunar night, the sun's 6-month outward course. A man of discipline reaches the moonlight and returns. These bright and dark pathways are deemed constant for the universe. By one, a man escapes rebirth. By the other, he is born again. No man of discipline is deluded when he knows these two paths. Therefore, Arjuna, be armed in all times with discipline, knowing the fruit of virtue assigned to knowledge of sacred lore, to sacrifices, to penances, and acts of charity. The man of discipline transcends all this and ascends to the place of pure being. The 9th teaching, the sublime mystery. I will teach the deepest mystery to you, since you find no fault. Realizing it with the knowledge and judgment, you'll be free from misfortune. The science and mystery of kings is the supreme purifier. Intuitive, true to duty, joyous to perform, and unchanging. Without faith in sacred duty, men fail to reach me. Arjuna, they return to the cycle of death and rebirth. The whole universe is pervaded by my unmanifest form. All creatures exist in me, but I do not exist in them. Behold the power of my discipline. These creatures are really not in me. Myself quickens creatures, sustaining them without being in them. Just as the wide-moving wind is constantly present in space, so all creatures exist in me. Understand it to be so. As an aeon ends, all creatures fold into my nature, Arjuna, and I create them again as a new aeon begins. Gathering in my own nature, again and again, I freely create this whole throng of creatures, helpless in the force of my nature. These actions do not bind me, since I remain detached in all my actions, Arjuna, as if I stood apart from them. Nature with me, as her inner eye, bears animate and inanimate beings, and by reason of this, Arjuna, the universe continues to turn. Deluded men despise me in the human form I have assumed, ignorant of my higher existence as the great lord of creatures. Reason warped, hope, action, and knowledge wasted, they fall prey to a seductive, fiendish, and demonic nature. In single-minded dedication, great souls devote themselves to my divine nature, knowing me as unchanging, the origin of creatures, always glorifying me, striving firm in their vows, paying me homage with devotion. They worship me, always disciplined. Sacrificing through knowledge, others worship my universal presence in its unity and in its many different aspects. I am the rite, the sacrifice, and the libation for the dead, the healing herb, the sacred hymn, the clarified butter, the fire, the oblation. I am the universal Father, Mother, granter of all, grandfather, object of knowledge, purifier, holy syllable Om, threefold sacred love. I am the way, sustainer, Lord, witness, shelter, refuge, friend, source, dissolution, stability, treasure, and unchanging seed. I am heat that withholds and sends down the rains. I am immortality and death. Both being and non-being am I. Men learned in sacred lore, soma drinkers, their sins absolved, worship me with sacrifices, seeking to win heaven, reaching the holy world of Indira, king of the gods. They savor the heavenly delights of the gods in the celestial sphere. When they have long enjoyed the world of heaven and their merit is exhausted, they enter the mortal world, following the duties ordained in sacred lore, desiring desires. They obtain what is transient. Men who worship me, thinking solely of me, always disciplined, win the reward as secure. When devoted men sacrifice to other deities with faith, they sacrifice to me, Arjuna, however aberrant the rites. I am the enjoyer and the lord of all sacrifices. Yet they do not know me in reality, and so they fail. Votaries of the gods go to the gods, ancestor worshippers go to the ancestors, and those who propitiate ghosts go to them, and my worshippers go to me. The leaf or flower or fruit or water that he offers with devotion, I take from the man of self-restraint in response to his devotion. Whatever you do, what you take, what you offer, what you give, what penances you perform, do as an offering to me, Arjuna. You will be freed from the bonds of action, from the fruit of fortune and misfortune, armed with the discipline of renunciation. Yourself liberated, you will join me. I am impartial to all creatures, and no one is hateful or dear to me. But men devoted to me are in me, and I am within them. If he is devoted solely to me, even a violent criminal must be deemed a man of virtue, for his resolve is right. His spirit quickens to sacred duty, and he finds eternal peace. Arjuna, know that no one devoted to me is lost. If they rely on me, Arjuna, women, commoners, and men of low rank, even men born in the womb of evil, reach the highest way. How easy it is for the holy priests and devoted royal sages in this transient world of sorrow. Devote yourself to me. Keep me in your mind in devotion. Sacrifice to me, bow to me, discipline yourself toward me, and you will reach me. The 10th teaching. Fragments of divine power, Lord Krishna. Great warrior, again hear my word in its supreme form, desiring your good, I speak to deepen your love. Neither the multitude of gods nor great sages know my origin, for I am the source of all the gods and great sages. A mortal who knows me as the unborn, beginning this great Lord of the worlds, is freed from delusion and all evils. Understanding, knowledge, non-delusion, patience, truth, control, tranquility, joy, suffering, being, non-being, fear, and fearlessness. Non-violence, equanimity, contentment, penance, charity, glory, disgrace, these diverse attitudes of creatures arise from me. The 7 ancient great sages and the 4 ancestors of man, are mind-born aspects of me. Their progeny fills the world. The man who in reality knows my power and my discipline is armed with unwavering discipline. In this there is no doubt. I am the source of everything, and everything proceeds from me. Filled with my existence, wise men realizing this are devoted to me. Thinking and living deep in me, they enlighten one another by constantly telling me of their own joy and delight. To men of enduring discipline, devoted to me with affection, I will give the discipline of understanding by which they come to me. Dwelling compassionately deep in the self, I dispel darkness born of ignorance with the radiant light of knowledge. Arjuna, you are supreme, the infinite spirit, the highest abode, sublime purifier. Man's spirit, eternal, divine, the primordial God, unborn and omnipotent. So the ancient seer spoke of you, as did the poet Virasa, and the bards who sang for gods, ancestors and men, and now you tell me yourself. Lord Krishna, I realize the truth of all you tell me. Neither gods nor demons know your manifest nature. You know yourself through self, Krishna. Supreme among men, sustainer and lord of all creatures, God of God, master of the universe. Tell me without reserve the divine powers of yourself, powers by which you pervade these worlds, Lord of discipline. How can I know you as I meditate on you? In what diverse aspects can I think of you, Krishna? Recount the full extent, the discipline and power of yourself, Krishna. I can never hear enough of your immortal speech. Lord Krishna, listen, Arjuna, as I recount for you the essence, the divine powers of myself, endless is my extent. I am the self-abiding. In the heart of all creatures, I am the beginning, the middle, and the end. I am Vishnu standing among the sun gods, the radiant sun among lights. I am lightning among the wind gods, the moon among the stars. I am the song in sacred lore. I am India, king of the gods. I am the mind of the senses, the consciousness of creatures. I am gracious Shiva among the howling storm gods, the lord of wealth among demigods and demons, fire blazing among the bright gods. I am golden Meru towering over the mountains. Arjuna, know me as the god's teacher, chief of the household priests. I am the god of war among generals. I am the ocean of lakes. I am Brigru, priest of the great seers of words. I am the eternal syllable Om, the prayer of sacrifices. I am Himalaya, the measure of what endures. Among trees, I am the sacred fig tree. I am the chief of divine sages, leader of the celestial musicians, the recluse philosopher among the saints. Among horses, know me as the immortal stallion, born of the sea of Alexa. Among elephants, the divine king's mount. Among men, I am the king. I am the thunderbolt among weapons. Among cattle, the magic wishing granting cow. I am the procreative god of love, the king of all the snakes. I am the endless cosmic serpent, the lord of all sea creatures. I am the chief of the ancestral fathers of restraints. I am death. I am the pious son of demons. Of measures I am time. I am the lion among wild animals, the eagle among birds. I am the purifying wind, the warrior Rama bearing arms, the sea monster crocodile, the flowing river Ganges. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all creations. Of sciences, I am the science of the self. I am the dispute of orators. I am the valet of the syllabary, the pairing of words in a compound. I am the indestructible time, the creator facing everywhere at once. I am the death destroyer of all, the source of what will be, the feminine powers, fame, fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, resolve, and patience. I am the great ritual chant, the meter of sacred song, The most sacred month of the year, the spring blooming with flowers. I am the dice game of gamblers, the brilliance of fiery heroes. I am victory and resolve, the lucidity of lucid men. I am Krishna among my mighty kingsmen. I am Arjuna among the Pandava princes. I am the epic poet Vyasa among the sages, the inspired singer among the bards. I am the scepter of the rulers, the mortality of ambitious men. I am the silence of mysteries. What men of knowledge know? Arjuna, I am the seed of all creatures. Nothing animate or inanimate could exist without me. Fiery hero, endless are my divine powers. Of my divine powers' extent I have barely hinted. Whatever is powerful, lucid, splendid, or invulnerable has its source in a fragment of my brilliance. What use is so much knowledge to you, Arjuna? I stand sustaining this entire world with a fragment of my being. The 11th teaching, the vision of Krishna's totality. Arjuna, to favor me you revealed the deepest mystery of the self, and by your words my delusion is dispelled. I heard from you in detail how creatures come in and die. Krishna, and about the self and its immutable greatness. Just as you have described yourself, I wish to see your form with all its majesty, Krishna, supreme among men. If you think I can see it, reveal to me your immutable self, Krishna, Lord of discipline. Lord Krishna, Arjuna, see my forms in hundreds and thousands, diverse, divine, of many colors and shapes. See the sun gods, the gods of light, howling storm gods, twin gods of dawn, the gods of wind. Arjuna, wondrous forms not seen before. Arjuna, see all the universe, animate and inanimate, and whatever else you wish to see, all stands here as one in my body. But you cannot see me with your own eye. I will give you a divine eye to see the majesty of my discipline. Sanjaya, O king, saying this Krishna, the great lord of discipline, revealed to Arjuna the true majesty of his form. It was a multiform, wondrous vision, with countless mouths and eyes, and celestial ornaments, brandishing many divine weapons. Everywhere was boundless divinity, containing all astonishing things, wearing divine garlands and garments, anointed with divine perfume. If the light of 1,000 suns were to rise in the sky at once, it would be like the light of that great spirit. Arjuna saw all the universe in its many ways and parts, standing as one in the body of the god of gods. Then, filled with amazement, his hair bristling on his flesh, Arjuna bowed his head to the god, joined in his hands in homage, and spoke, Arjuna, I see the gods in your body, O God, and hordes of varied creatures, Brahma, the cosmic creator on his lotus throne, all the seers and celestial serpents. I see your boundless form everywhere, the countless arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes. Lord of all, I see no end, or middle, or beginning to your totality. I see you blazing through the fiery rays of your crown, mace, and discus, hard to behold in the burning light of fire and sun that surrounds your measureless presence. You are to be known as supreme eternity, the deepest treasure of all that is, the immutable guardian of enduring sacred duty. I think you are man's timeless spirit. I see no beginning or middle or end to you, only boundless strength. In your endless arms, the moon and sun in your eyes, your mouths of consuming flames, your own brilliance scorching this universe. You alone fill the space between heaven and earth, and all the directions seen this awesome, terrible form of yours. Great soul, the three worlds tremble. Throngs of you, of gods, enter you. Some in their terror make gestures of homage to invoke you. Throngs of great sages and saints hail you and praise you in resounding hymns. Howling storm gods, sun gods, bright gods, and gods of ritual, gods of the universe, twin gods of dawn, wind gods, vapor-drinking ghosts, throngs of celestial musicians, demigods, demons, and saints, all gaze at you amazed. Seeing the many mouths and eyes of your great form, its many arms, thighs, feet, bellies, and fangs, the worlds tremble, and so do I. Vishnu, seeing you brush the clouds with flames of countless colors, your mouths agape, your huge eyes blazing, my inner self quakes, and I find no resolve or tranquility. Seeing the fangs protruding from your mouths like the fires of time, I lose my bearings and find no refuge. Be gracious, Lord of gods, shelter of the universe. All those sons of the blind king Dhritarashtra come accompanied by troops of kings, by the generals Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and by our battle leaders, rushing through your fangs into grim mouths. Some are dangling from heads crushed between your teeth. As roiling river rolls, waters stream headlong toward the sea, so do these human heroes enter into your blazing mouths. As moths in the friendly of destruction fly into a blazing flame, worlds in the frenzy of destruction enter your mouths. You lick at the worlds around you, devouring them with flaming mouths, and your terrible fires scorch the entire universe, filling it, Vishnu, with violent rays. Tell me, who are you in this terrible form? Homage to you, best of gods. Be gracious. I want to know you as you are in your beginning. I do not comprehend the course of your ways. Lord Krishna, I am time grown old, creating world destruction, set in motion to annihilate the worlds. Even without you, all these warriors arrayed in hostile ranks will cease to exist. Therefore, arise and win glory. Conquer your foes and fulfill your kingship. They are already killed by me. Be just my instrument, the archer at my side. Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, and Karna, and all the other battle heroes are killed by me. Kill them without wavering. Fight and you will conquer your foes in battle. Sanjaya. Hearing Krishna's words, Arjuna trembled under his crown, and he joined his hands in reverent homage. Terrified of his fear, he bowed to Krishna and stammered in reply. Krishna, the universe responds with joy and rapture to your glory. Terrified demons flee in the far directions, and saints throng and bow in homage. Why should they not bow in homage to you, great soul, original creator, more vulnerable than the creator Brahma? Boundless Lord of gods, shelter of all that is, you are eternity, being, non-being, and beyond. You are the original God, the primordial spirit of man, the deepest treasure of all that is, knower in what is to be known. The supreme abode, you pervade the universe, Lord of boundless form. You are the God of wind, gods of wind, death, fire, and water, the moon, the Lord of life, and the great ancestor. Homage to you, 1,000 times homage. I bow in homage to you again and yet again. I bow in homage before you and behind you. I bow everywhere in your omnipresence. You have boundless strength and limitless force. You fulfill all that you are. Thinking you a friend? I boldly say, welcome, Krishna. Welcome, cousin friend. From negligence or through love, I failed to know your greatness. And if in jest I offended you alone or publicly, at sport, rest, sitting, or at meals, I beg your patience, unfathomable Krishna. You are the father of the world, of animate and inanimate things, its venerable teacher without equal. Where in all three worlds is there another to match your extraordinary power? So I bow to you. I prostrate my body. I beg you to be gracious, worshipful Lord, as a father to a son, a friend to a friend, a lover to a beloved. O God, bear with me. I am thrilled, and yet my mind trembles with fear at seeing what has not been seen before. Show me, God, the form I know. Be gracious, Lord of God, shelter of the world. I want to see you as before, with your crown and mace, and discus in your hand, 1,000-armed God. Assume the four-armed form embodied in your totality. Lord Krishna, to grace you, Arjuna, I revealed through self-discipline my higher form. But no one but you has ever beheld brilliant, total, boundless, and primal. Not through sacred lore or official ritual or study or charity, not by rites or by terrible penances, can I be seen in this form in the world of men by anyone but you, great hero. Do not tremble or suffer confusion from seeing my horrific form. Your fear dispelled, you're mindful of love. See my form again as it was. Sanjaya. Saying this to Arjuna, Krishna once more revealed his intimate form. Resuming his gentle body, the great spirit let the terrified hero regain his breath. Arjuna. Seeing your gentle human form, Krishna, I recover. My own nature and my reason is restored. Lord Krishna, the form you have seen is rarely revealed. The gods are constantly craving for a vision of this form. Not through sacred lore, penitence, charity, or sacrificial rites can I be seen in the form that you saw me. By devotion alone can I, as I really am, be known and seen and entered into, Arjuna. Acting only for me, intent on me, free from attachment, hostile to no creature, Arjuna, a man of devotion comes to me.